Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Jam. Today I have a special guest in here, a good friend of mine. We go way back. We started out coaching together at Duncanville ISD. I'm here with Coach Xzavier Gai. Coach Gai is a Dallas native. I guess he graduated high school down in the Houston area. Went on to play at Syracuse. He was a dual sport athlete, played football and basketball at Syracuse. Top-notch coach, man, one of the best coaches, basketball coaches that I know. Matter of fact, football coaches too. He played quarterback, coached a little quarterbacks. Took some of the teams to the state tournament as a first assistant and as a head coach. I'm going to let him share all those stories here with you. He is an excellent coach, man, and a good friend of mine. I'm happy to have him on the show. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Glad you had me on.
Now, I did mention that Coach Gaines went to Syracuse, and I don't know why Coach would leave the great hot weather here in Texas and go all the way up to New York in the cold. Maybe he can explain that to me. I don't know how that all happened. I'm going to let him share his story. So, Coach, can you share your experience of playing basketball and football at the college level? And what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during your playing career?
Well, first of all, I was blessed to have an opportunity to go up there to Syracuse. And it was – when I first started, I was like I wanted to be far away from Texas. I wanted to be far away from school. But then I always looked, and I wanted to make sure I played on the East Coast. There's something about East Coast basketball that I always wanted. So to be able to go to the opportunity to go to Syracuse University and play there was a blessing, and the work I put in as a high school athlete and student and the mindset that I had. Just being up there, it taught me a lot of who I am today. Being around a legendary coach of a Hall of Famer, Jim Boeheim, and then also great coach, football coach, Paul Pasqualoni was our head coach when I was there at Syracuse. Great coaches, great mentors, and they did a great job for me. But juggling two sports was a handful for any athlete. Being able to play on that level, being able to go take care of everything you need to do in football, and then also be able to jump onto the basketball side in the basketball court was a challenge to be able to see if I could do the best I could possibly be on either side. So I think being able to just try to juggle the opportunity of saying, hey, I'm going to be able to do the best I can in each sport, but obviously know you're missing stuff. So being a college athlete is a full-time job and basically a full-time responsibility. That's why they get the perks that they do today with the NIL and stuff. So I'll say that was the biggest challenge.
Just trying to play both sports, football and basketball, especially at a high level. I'm sure that was, challenging. Now, you played with one of the best college basketball players of all time, and so what was that like to play with the great Carmelo Anthony? He came in, he was a freshman phenom. What was that like during your time of playing with Carmelo Anthony?
Oh, it was a tremendous experience, and talking about seeing one of the best athletes that ever touched a basketball up close and personal every day in practice, and saw his work ethic and what he was about was a tremendous honor. And I got the responsibility personally to guard him every single day. Coach Boeheim was he called me into his office and said that's the main thing he wanted me to be able to do is be a great defender and guard Melo every day. So that was an experience, and he definitely taught me how to be a better defender with all the jab steps and stuff that he was able to do. But he was one of the greatest college players, like you said, to ever touch a basketball, and being able to be on it and have the success we did was tremendous with the team that we had, but also it was big by the leadership by Carmelo.
And, so with me saying that about Carmelo, and if you guys know anything about Carmelo Anthony and his time at Syracuse, he was a freshman, and they went on to win a national championship. Coach Gaines very rarely brings that up. He's so humble about it, and he has a ring. Like when I first met him, I wanted him to bring the ring up so I could see it, in my hand. Tell us about that experience of going and playing and being in the environment and playing in the national championship level. When you played the great T.J. Ford, you knocked my Longhorns out in the Final Four. What was that experience like going all the way to the Final Four and winning the whole thing?
Well, honestly, I think we just came out of nowhere. I don't think we was on anybody's bracket to come out and win it all. And we were one of the top teams in the nation at that time, and just being able to kind of go under the radar. They knew we were good, but they didn't know we was going to win it all. So I know there was a lot of favorites, especially the team that we ended up meeting in the championship was Kansas, and a lot of people had us as underdogs, and we took that and that was fire. And for our team, for our coaching staff, that we was able to just click at the right time. And I think just having that experience and being able to go through those practices and that mindset of every single person that was in there was a tremendous opportunity. And also it was something that taught me a lot as I continue to have my coaching career, just what it takes to be able to be in that championship mindset and a championship culture. So having that opportunity and being around those guys and those coaching staffs was something that was a blessing every day.
Now, let's go ahead and transition because you brought it up. Let's go ahead and transition to your coaching career. What did you learn from your time as a player that you now apply to your coaching philosophy?
Well, as a player, I know we went through very tough, hard practices and the behind-the-scenes work that you have to put in order to do what you want to do when the lights turn on. It goes as countless hours, as countless shots. It's just a mentality that you have to have when no one is around. And that's what I like to instill into my players and being able to understand that there's work behind the scenes, that what are you doing when no one is watching, when the lights are not on you and the light's not shining on you or whatever. But you have to be able to have that mindset that you're doing something that's going to end up paying off when the lights turn on. So what you're doing when the lights are not on you, it shows you who you are and what you're about. So as a coach, I try to instill that into my players, and where you have to be able to know who you really are, and when no one's watching and no one's really paying attention to you, to keep that grind and keep that focus to what your ultimate goal is to be.
Were there any specific moments or games during your college career, maybe even having to guard Carmelo all the time? Were there any moments during that time that influenced your approach to coaching?
Well, definitely when Coach Boeheim told me about the practices, and I needed to make sure Melo was going to be Melo, and I had to make sure I made it hard for him, just guarding him every single day, and just having those battles in practice. And big shout out to, like I said, to our coaching staff for giving me that opportunity. They saw my potential as a player to be able to have the ability to be a great defender, because I did also play football. And so I was strong and I was fast, and just being only 6'4" and guarding someone at 6'8", they gave me that responsibility to make it tough for them. So that was something that I was able to take with open arms and anything coach needed me to do. And that's what I also like to instill in players. You have a role. Like coming from high school, I was one of the top players in the state. I had these opportunities to go different places and go to a lot of different D1 programs to be able to play basketball and stuff. But when I got to Syracuse, there was already a lot of players that was just like me, even better. And I had a role where I had to understand this is what I was needed to do to help the team win, which is everybody can't get the Melo shots and everybody can't get the Jerry McNamara stats and the Hakeem Warwicks of the world. So we all had a role, and that was very inspirational to who I am today.
Now let's fast forward a little bit. Let's go get to your coaching days. You know, me and you, we worked together, and we worked at Duncanville ISD. We started out in the middle school, but we're going to fast forward past that too. We're going to get to when you started to, when you coached at the high school level and you made those state tournament runs, starting out at Irvin Mack, and then you did it again when you went down to Corpus Christi. What has it been like coaching a team that has made the state tournament, and what does it take to reach that level of competition?
Well, ultimately, you have to have the kids with the mindset that they want to do something great and special. It starts with the kids and trickles down to the parents, to being able to support the coach and the coaching staff, and then you can't forget about your coach. It just takes a whole network of a whole group of that's in the program, from coaching staff to parents to the players. Ultimately, they make it all work. If they can make it work where they have the mindset of this is what they want to do and this is what they want to accomplish, then they're going to buy into what the coach is telling them, and they're going to put in the work. But just being around those championship-level teams, we won in district championships, we're doing able to do those things. It started with the kids. I remember them coming to me and just saying, Coach, how can we get to this level? How can we be better? How can we? And then they were willing to do any and everything it took to get there. So being able to have those kids' mindsets being like, hey, this is what I want to do, this is where we want to be, that's where it starts, and that's how it's going to always end up with. It's going to show on the court. So that's going to be with their buy-in. It's going to be with how they approach you offensively, defensively, and then obviously it shows their togetherness. It brought the kids around. Their camaraderie was spectacular. So you can tell that they really cared about each other on the court because they was able to talk, communicate, pick each other up when bad things were happening, or lift each other up when good things were happening. So the starters to the guys on the bench to the role players. So it's a whole team effort and a program effort.
Let me ask you this. You've been in the Final Four. You played in the championship game. You've taken your teams to the state tournament. How is it similar or different, those two environments, and playing in those championship and those big games like that? Like, what's the similarity and are there any differences in playing in those two? One's at the college level, obviously, and one's at the high school level. But what is that like as a coach and as a player?
Well, it's mind-wrecking. Because but it's a blessing, but it also shows the work that you put in to get to that level. Just to be able to feel that you accomplished something and you got there and you done it and all the work that you have is paying off and you're like, man, here we are on the biggest stage and having the opportunity to win a championship. That's the greatest feeling in the world, of being able to say, hey, all this work we put in and you start thinking about the off seasons, blood, sweat, and tears that you put in, the preseason work, the coaching meetings, the weight rooms, the tracks, all those things, and you add it all together and you put it all in front of you at that last game, that last moment. But that experience is not something that can be duplicated. When you're in a championship atmosphere, playing for that last game, playing for those rings or those trophies or everything, there's nothing that matches it. And that in any part of your life, that you're always going to remember it. You're always going to take it with you. But it's going to be something that is going to be. You don't want to have nothing left after it's all said and done. Like, you want to put it all out there on the table. Hey, I've been on the both ends of it, of being able to win some and being able to lose some. And it always is something you can learn from both sides of it. But the experience is something that you're always going to remember for the rest of your life.
When you coach in high state games, like in a state championship and state tournament game, I know they can be intense. How do you manage the pressure and keep your players focused?
Well, just it starts from day one. Just being able to tell them this is what you've been working for, and being able to have a calm sense of approach to them about also, hey, this is something you work for, you deserve, you earn, and you're gonna go out there and just whatever you do, don't say you left anything out there. But as a coach, it's you have to understand that I'm a big believer of the team will reflect off this leadership. And if you're a leader that is like showing panic and you're all over the place or whatever it is, the team will be feeling a little bit more nervous. So I think you as the leader and as a head coach and as even a leader on a team, they're going to go as far as the leadership goes, and that's what's going to steer the ship in the right direction to get everybody on the same page. But you have to have a sense of urgency, but you also got to make sure you don't get too high or too low and try to make things too much difficult for yourself, because it's already going to be hard, and you're going to make it harder trying to go against yourself. So just trust your process of what you did to get there, and make sure you're understanding that who you are is about to show on the biggest stage.
Me and you, we talk about this a lot, and player mentality, and I know you're big on that. How do you help your players develop a strong mental approach to the game, especially when things aren't going well during the game or during the season? Like, how do you help them develop that strong mental approach?
Well, it all starts in practice and off season. It's you won't know who you really are unless you go through the tough times. So being able to push them through the off season and help them go through different things with the weight room and the track, and just having talks to them, building those relationships with your players, and having those sit down conversations with individuals just about who they are and what their goals are and what their inspiration is. But ultimately, it's about your purpose. If you whenever things get tough, you always go back to your purpose. So my thing is, I always ask the players, what is your purpose and why you're here today, or why you're playing basketball or any sport in general? Just go back to your purpose when times get hard, and that's going to get you through. So if your purpose is strong enough, and it's going to make you go through the tough times, that's what's going to get you through. So just making sure we understand what our purpose is and what our focus is, so we're all on the same page. But understand it is going to be difficult, but that purpose is going to get you through.
Now, how important is it for a player's attitude and mindset when it comes to the overall team success? Like, how important is that?
Attitude's everything. If you're locked in and you're focused on the goal or the task at hand, it's going to help your whole demeanor, your body language. It's going to feed to your teammates, and also to the coaching staff. Your attitude will reflect your actions, and your attitude would also reflect your energy and anything that you have, which can be negative or positive. So you want to make sure that your attitude is where you need to be at all times, but you want to make sure that you're also trying to make sure that you're locked into just the little things, being able to focus on those things, and ultimately that purpose goes back to it.
What strategies do you use to keep players motivated during the off season? When they're like, "Oh, we're not in season," and they may not be given 100%, or they may not think, "Hey, we don't have a game coming up." What strategies do you use to keep them motivated when they're dealing with the tough stretches during the off season?
Ultimately, they have to line up that goal. I mean, we as a coach, we set our expectations, we set our guidelines and everything else to those players, and understand that this is the expectation that we're having going forward, which is going to get to where we want to go, which is our ultimate goal. But we have to be able to have a strategy of just making sure the kids understand what our guidelines, what our goals are, and for them to grow and understand that they are important. If they're around and they're part of the team, they're part of the culture, they're everything they're doing does not go overlooked. So making sure everybody knows that they're important to us growing as a program, because we're only as strong as our weakest person. So everybody wants to be able to lock in, focus on that goal, and understand that they are an important part of whatever it is our goal is, and they have to be able to get on board.
With all of the success that you've had and making those runs, how do you establish that winning culture within your team? What's the role of leadership in that culture?
Well, as a coach, you have to be able to relate to your players, and you have to be able to be a student of the game as well. Being able to learn and feel like as a coach that you just got it all, like you can't have that kind of mindset as a coach. You have to be able to be open to your own coaching and don't run away from coaching. Like, every kid is going to be different. You're going to have to connect to every kid, and you're going to have to be there for every kid. So locking on to that is going to be key for every part of the program to be successful. So we have to be able to, as a leader, have that kind of mindset, have that direction, and be able to help our program out, and just ultimately help the kids.
Okay, Coach, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, beyond X's and O's, what life lessons do you hope your players take with them after their time of playing for you?
Well, everybody has an expiration date on when they're going to start playing, and you have to always understand that you're going to take memories with you after you're playing, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. But I want all the players that I interact with to understand that they have to be able to translate what you're learning as a basketball program to just life in general. We want them to be able to understand that to be able to have the hardships you do on the court also translates into life, being able to rebound from that, being able to attack those things, and being able to have a positive mindset, because one day you're going to have families. You're going to have maybe you're blessed enough to have children. They're looking at you as for leadership and guidance, and that's what sports teach you, and that's something you're always going to take with you, is being able to have a competitive edge, but also be able to understand that adversity will happen, and overcoming that. You have teammates, you have your brothers on your team, and you have your family that you want to look out for. So we always want to have our kids just take out and just say, hey, ultimately we want to be great people. We want to be great men. We want to be great women, whatever sport it is that you want to just say, hey, I'm going to be able to be a great citizen in life and be productive and successful in anything I do, and I learned that from athletics or any sport.
Perfect. Let's talk about the future of the game. How do you see the game of basketball evolving?
Well, I think what's going on in the college level is starting to trickle down a little bit in the high school level, which is it can be a headache, but it also is exciting for the young people, because you want the young people to also, because the game is growing. The game is evolving, so different things are happening. So you have to adapt as a coach, and it's getting down to the high school level too, where kids are able to start getting NIL deals and started getting different recruiting tools and stuff like that. So it's exciting, but also it is something that we're all still learning and being in the process too as a coach and adapting to. But it's exciting for the kids because they're going to have a lot of opportunities that we didn't have coming up. So being able to evolve and grow the game is always something you want to do when you're around it.
Coach, what is some advice you would give to young players who are aspiring to play at the college level or even at the professional level?
It's just countless hours, stacking days. You have to be able to work and have a purpose and have some direction on what you're going to be doing. And if your mind is right and you're mentally tough and you're focused on this goal, you're going to have tunnel vision on it, and you're going to not be distracted by the little things. But if you want something, you have to understand it's going to be something you're going to have to work for and not be distracted from it. So it's going to be very key of understanding who you're around, who's your motivations, do you have the support from your friends and your circle that you have, and if you don't, you're going to have it a little bit even harder. But ultimately, you have the key to your success. But being able to have that mindset of being mentally tough and having a goal and a purpose, you have to have that every day, and you got to stack days on top of days to get better.
Last question here for you. What advice do you have to an aspiring coach looking to make an impact on their community and their team or their coaching careers? For a young coach that's getting in, what advice would you give him?
Well, anybody wanting to be in this profession has to have a love for kids. You got to understand the kids are different from even when you was a kid as a young coach, or even when I was a kid, anything else, that the kids are changing, and ultimately it's all about the kids of just giving them direction. And it's going to be tough, and it's going to be something that's going to be challenging. But ultimately, the goal is to lead our young people into the right direction of not only learning the game of basketball, but also being great people. But so any coach that's inspiring to be a coach and be a great coach and everything, it goes beyond the X's and O's, being able to build relationships, being able to have your staff in the same direction, on the same page. It goes all together, but it's something that is very rewarding, and it's something that you got to enjoy to do. You have to really love it to get the most out of it, and it's not something that is overlooked in our community, and coaches are appreciated worldwide. So it is a great profession to be in, and I'm blessed to still be able to do it.
Okay, I know I said last question, but I gotta jam you real quick. If you can go back in time and tell the young coach Xzavier Gai and give him some advice, what would you tell him?
Don't limit yourself. Don't have a mindset of having a ceiling of where you wanted to be. Again, my mindset was I wanted just to be I was just thinking of being a D1 player, and that was the only thing my mindset was set on. And once I made D1, I felt like I made it, and I felt like I arrived. And I was just content with where I was in life and where I was at that time. And I was patting myself on the back, so I kind of got complacent. But the advice I definitely will give myself is go ahead and shoot for the stars and don't limit yourself.
But what about you as a young coach? What advice would you give yourself as a young coach when you first got in the coaching profession?
Continue to learn and get more opportunities to be around other coaches in the other circles and learn from other coaches and listen to their experiences and listen to the different types of kids that they dealt with and put it all into my different philosophies. I started learning that as a later coach, and I wish I would have did it a little bit earlier, but being able to be around other coaches and see what they've experienced and see what they have that impacted who they are has definitely molded me into who I am today. And just continuing to learn, and it's always a learning profession, and learning more and more just is going to make you better. So being able to stay a sponge as a coach is also very beneficial.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show today, man. Thanks for coming out. You guys heard it here first from a guy that played at a high level, national champion, coached in state tournaments. Like I said, played at the highest level with one of the greatest basketball players of all time, had to guard him on the court, and is now as a great coach molding young men to be great individuals, not only on the court but in the community and in the real world. Coach, thanks for coming out.
Appreciate it, Coach.
And you guys take his advice. If not, you may be jammed. Thanks for listening.
Stay jammed.